Go Lurk Yourself, a podcast about streaming on the internet. My name is Crunky.
And I am Cherry Cake.
This week we're going to talk about the new game Devil May Cry 5. But first, we're going to talk about some games we've been playing this week. Cherry, you want to go first?
Yeah, can do. So I think last week I mentioned that I was playing Hollow Knight. Still carrying on with that. Still doing bits and pieces here and there. It's quite a nice game. Yeah. It's a nice game to just pick up and put down. If you've got like an hour spare or even like 30 minutes, you can just pick it up and go and, I don't know, explore some other areas and put it down without having to really concentrate on it too much.
Between you and Zerker, I've just been blown away by like how much depth there is to that game. Like every time I watch it, I'm like, I've never even seen this area before, this boss, this enemy, this different, and I'm like, this is just the first game still. They have a whole new one coming out soon.
Yeah. I can't wait for that one. I think that's probably what has inspired quite a few people to play the original one because of the new one that's
Silk Song, I think it's going to be called.
Yes, yeah. There's no official release date for that yet, but hopefully it'll be announced soon, I guess.
Just soon, trademarked by Nintendo.
Yeah.
Speaking of Nintendo, did you watch any of, have you seen the news article where they came out? The only reason I bring this up, we just had this episode about AAA microtransactions and overcharging, and Nintendo has come out and said to their own internal developers for their system and then for their mobile that, hey guys, take it real easy on the microtransactions. Be reasonable with them. They're like going after people saying we're not gonna overly monetize our microtransactions because we think it's bad for our brand to have that negative publicity out there.
Well, they're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean who else is saying that right now? Nobody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, other than the actions, no one's actually coming out and like releasing a press release about it. Yeah. So good on them. That's all I'm saying.
It's quite refreshing to hear that because majority of the big developers, I guess, are mainly focused on money. So that's where microtransactions come in, and it does produce a lot of money for them. But for Nintendo to come out and say, no, we're not into that, is really nice to hear.
Yeah, they were the last to kind of like wade into that shit pool too. Like you remember back when Xbox 360 and PS2 and 3 were rolling out, planned DLC. I remember the first time getting a game where on the actual like inside they're like, don't forget, in 6 months we're going to release another expansion that you can pay us $20 for, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So alongside that, I also did a little bit of a stream on Resident Evil 2 remake.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I've never played Resident Evil 2, the original, before, so this was a whole brand new game to me anyway. The only other Resident Evil that I've played is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis.
Okay.
And that was when I was about 13. So
a couple years ago.
Yes. We'll go with that. So I didn't really know what to expect from this. I watched a few streams of people playing it, some friends that were playing it on Twitch, and it looked kind of fun. So I made a deal with Berserker. He is not a massive fan of horror games. To put it mildly. He has this weird thing where I think he likes playing them, but he's very, very, very scared to play them.
He's jumpy as hell, isn't he?
Yeah. After I made a deal with him and I said that, look, if you want to play it, then I will play it on stream as well. And I held up my end of the deal and ended up playing it on stream for a little bit, and it is a good game. It's really fun. It's really beautiful to look at. It's kind of gross in some aspects because it is that beautiful. The HD graphics make very good use of the detail going into all the gore.
Yeah, that one zombie early on in the game whose like head is split open and it just like, and Leon picks it up, like, it just like gets a real good look inside the guy's skull. I'm like, what are you looking for in his head?
He definitely lingers on that just a little bit too long, but
like, there's a key in here I need.
Someone has spent so long making that and they'll be like, yep, this is getting 10 seconds worth of footage because I spent a year doing it.
Right, that's awesome. It's funny you mentioned that Resident Evil 2 is the first game that Capcom released in the RE engine, they're calling it. It's the brand new engine they've made for like modern games. And they're making a whole bunch of games, including the other game we're talking about today, Devil May Cry 5, is made in that same engine.
Oh, cool. It seems like a very good engine, actually.
Yeah, stable and I mean, slick and fast. Yeah. It runs great on PC. What I've heard, I don't know that this has been confirmed, but there was talk, like people are deducing, or maybe it's actually been determined that they're making a Resident Evil 3 remake now.
Oh, yeah, I did hear that rumor as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's been confirmed or not yet, but that would be quite cool. I think
it would make sense, right? Because I mean, this has been a huge success. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that would disturb me about that is the detail that they would put in on Nemesis, because that thing is gross in the pixelated PlayStation era as it is, but to be put into HD graphics,
glorious full resolution grossness.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Well, I don't know how far you got into RE2, but it gets really gross at the end of that one too.
Oh no!
You spent some time hanging out in the sewers.
Oh yeah, I think I have seen. I think like 70% of the gameplay on that just from watching people play it. So I think that's kind of down to what it didn't affect me with like the jump scares and like the scary parts that people said that were kind of quite jumpy, I guess, because I know I did highlight reel for you, and I know there's one point where a zombie comes out of the lockers and it got you and it got Zerka as well, but because I've already seen it, I knew I was coming, so
you were like, yawn.
Yeah, zombie, hi.
Like when I played that, I knew I knew any of those lockers, just one of them was going to have a zombie in it, and it still got me because it's like the fifth one in a room that you open that happens.
Yeah.
So we played yesterday. We played with Zerker and Vox, Voxicore, who's also a streamer at Twitch TV/Voxicore. We played a new game. What kind of? I don't know. It's new to me, called Raft. And it's basically like Minecraft mixed with Sea of Thieves mixed with Atlas. It's a little survival.
7 Days to Die.
Yeah, it's a survival game where you're on a raft with friends and you collect stuff in the ocean, in the water, and on islands, and you build your raft and upgrade it and research. And it's if you played a survival game, it's pretty much just like that. But one thing about Raft that I'll say, even though it's still technically in early access, very polished experience I had with it yesterday. Yeah,
you're not wrong. Actually, I didn't realize it was in early access until you said it before we started playing. And again, this is something that I've seen probably on YouTube, I think, more than anything, footage of it. And it doesn't look like an early access game because, like you say, it's very well done.
Yeah, it's beautiful graphics. I was able to turn my graphics all the way up. And like it looks really nice. It's got a fun little gameplay loop, and like everyone says, those games are great with a couple of friends. So we all have a beer or two, hang out and chat, and then the fun happens with the randomness that of oh my god, I fell off the boat, someone come get me, or just the little thing, spontaneous things that happen with a group of friends. The gameplay mechanics are nothing to write home about. It is polished. It doesn't feel janky. I think we play 3 hours, 4 hours yesterday?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. It
was a pretty good long session. And the only bug I saw, well, I saw two. One, there was, inside like one of the crafting menus, there was an arrow labeled as a bow.
Okay.
And then the other one was we killed a shark, and as it sank in the ocean, it sank like through the side of a mountain, or whatever a mountain underwater is called. So like that was the only two things I saw in 4 hours. That's not bad for an early access game, especially if you compare it to Atlas.
Yeah, the less said about that game, probably the better.
Yeah, I enjoyed a bit of some, like 20% of my time playing Atlas, and that core gameplay loop that comes with a survival game.
Yeah.
Really was hit by that Raft game. I would play Raft again easily, and I was actually talking to my daughter about playing it, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll give it a try," and she never says that.
One of the things that I found with Raft that because I don't usually like playing these kind of survival games, I don't particularly find them very interesting, but it's quite nice with a few friends to play it. But the one thing that I found interesting with Raft is that you are literally on a raft. You're in the middle of an ocean, and it's kind of like the opposite, where you're not on an island and you have to sail to another island. You're already on the sea, but you can discover other islands, but you can't, like, your base is on the raft on the sea. You're not like anchoring a point anywhere on an island and making that your base. So I kind of found that mechanic of that kind of survival really interesting to play. It was really, really cool.
Absolutely. It kind of takes the need to, like, well, we got to get to the next area. The next area is just come, and that's cool when they come, but there's plenty of crap to do on the raft itself. There's a lot of junk floating in the water, so you can, like, we finally figured out how to set up nets on the side of our raft so it would, like, automatically collect stuff as we sailed, and use that to make you can make, like, a research table. You know, if you played Minecraft, you know how this works.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was really fun. I was really surprised. Like, I was kind of like, another one of these when we first talked about playing it. But, you know, for $20, you can't beat that. I already got my $20 out of it. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, for sure.
The other game I've been playing this week, I played the new update to Rainbow Six Siege.
Ah, yes.
And they have 2 new operators. If you guys don't know what Rainbow Six Siege is, I don't think we've ever done a full episode on that game, have we?
I think we did like half an episode, but not like a dedicated one. No.
Okay. Well, if you've never played it, it's basically Overwatch mixed with Counter-Strike is the best way to say it. It's Counter-Strike. You got to rescue the hostages or defuse a bomb or find an objective, and all the characters that you choose from have unique abilities. So, but rather than being superheroes like in Overwatch, they're basically they're different. They have different gadgets and guns and like there's a character who has a shield. There's a character who has, a smoke grenade, so he can, like, literally make it invisible, cover smoke on an area for a time. So they call them operators in this game. And I want to say there's attackers and defender operators that are all different. So I want to say there's like 50 total now, or some number like that. It's really high.
Yeah, there is a lot now. Yeah.
This new expansion focused on 2 new ones to start out, and they're Australian. The attacker is a gal named Gridlock, and what she does, part of one of the things that happens in Overwatch is on defense, there'll be operators called roamers, and they will basically, rather than play the objective, they'll go, like, off in a corner somewhere and wait till you're attacking. The attackers are almost to the objective. They're coming behind and wipe out the group, right?
Yeah.
So this character is kind of like a counter to that. She can run around as she's attacking. She can, like, shoot this net thing in a room that slowly expands out, and I think they're like hexagons, and they expand out, and they can literally shut off a room. So defenders that can't run through there without getting trapped, or they can shoot them one at a time, but there's like 20 of them, so they have to you'll hear them over there shooting 20 different traps. And it kind of it's a really neat idea that they're doing things like that counters the meta a bit. The defender that they added was a person named Mozzie, Mozzie, I think, and his special gadget is when you're playing that game, you can get these drones that have remote cameras in them, and the attackers at the beginning of the level will roll in with these drones and kind of, like, mark up the area and find out where the bombs or the objectives are. And what Mozzie does is he has 3 of these little robots that he can put on the ground that if a drone goes in its little radius, it'll jump on it and it'll take it over, and you can take over their drones.
Nice.
So it does a couple things. It limits their ability to gather intel, and you can actually turn around and use it to mark them when they come in and find out where they're coming from. You can't go outside with their drones, but you can go anywhere inside the base. It's kind of like when you're a defender, you can't go outside or it'll mark you.
Yeah. So if the attacker has come out of their drone and you take it over, are they aware that it's been taken over?
Yeah, it's funny. You get this if you're an attacker and they attack. I had this happen a couple times. You'll see this like little robot getting right in front of your camera, and you'll see his little legs and his arms on there, and his eye looking at you, and then it like digitals out and goes, and it says you've lost control of your drone.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like that game has so much packed into it that it's kind of like weird to think about. What can they add next? It's like, what can they think of
pretty much
that really changes the game?
Yeah.
I know you're kind of like down on that game right now, and I was slow to take to it. Rainbow Six Siege just got a super deep learning curve, especially years in after they've added, doubled the number of characters you have to learn. But it's fun. It's sort of like I was like the way you are in Overwatch at the beginning. Like it's way too much to take in all at once.
Yeah.
But you got to like I did what you guys told me. I just pick a character and just start focus on that one, learn it, and then as you get killed by some crazy thing you've never seen before, you'll learn. Okay, that's what that guy does.
Yeah.
But I'd recommend it. It was a lot. I loved I bought the season 4 pass, which is like $40 US.
Yeah.
And that gets you 8 operators, I think, total, maybe 10 for the season.
I think it's 8.
8, so there's 4 on each side. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's what I've been playing lately. Anything else we missed on that?
No, I think that's pretty much what I've just done this week.
Nice. Well, let's talk about Devil May Cry, huh?
Yeah.
So have you seen much gameplay of it yet?
I've seen bits and pieces here and there. There are a few channels on YouTube that have given reviews and shown some gameplay of it. I watched one from IGN and GameSpot this morning. So yeah, I've seen a little bit of it, and I will say I've not played a Devil May Cry game ever before.
Yeah.
But watching some of the combat on this one looks amazing.
Yeah, I doubt. The full disclosure, the only Devil May Cry I've ever played before today, or before this one, this game came out on Friday, and I played it Friday night. I actually played it late Friday night.
Yeah.
Was Devil May Cry 4 I bought on a Steam sale because it was like ridiculously cheap one weekend. It was like $5.
Yeah.
That game came out in 2008.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's been a while, right?
10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I played it and it has a couple of like really difficult things for me to get over early on. Like it's a very complicated combat system. It's I talked about this a bit on my stream when I streamed this game Friday, but basically when you approach a game, like the best games ever, get this right. They have a very easy to learn mechanic that's very difficult to master, right?
Yeah.
So that's the balance. If a game's real easy to learn, it kind of you get tired of it quickly. It's like a pop song.
Yeah.
If you hear a pop song and you immediately love it, chances are the 10th time you hear that song, you're going to be sick of it. But some of my favorite songs of all time, I wasn't sure about up front. It like took time to like work through and recognize parts and figure out what they're doing. And a song that's more deep or complicated like that tends to stick with me longer, be more interesting more times. And I feel that way about Devil May Cry 5. The combat system is very deep and very engaging, but it's intimidatingly difficult to start with. Like,
yeah.
It's a lot of people look at it and say, "Oh, it's a button masher," and I'm like, not really. I mean, so if you have an Xbox One controller or an Xbox controller, you know that the lower button is A, and then you got X to the left, Y to the top, and then to the right is B. The game, when you start out, you have a sword on Y, a gun on X, jump is A, and B is like a special. So like literally, you could pick it up and just start doing stuff. But like all the combo stuff is hold RB, push forward and tap Y. Hold RB, pull back and hit X. And it's like, those are complicated to do also while you're jumping around trying not to get hit by all the thousands of things going on the screen. And
yeah.
By the way, you can switch your melee weapon with RT. You can switch your gun or range weapon with LT. And then they have some things that are like timing based. Instead of like a God of War where you just spam Y the whole time, tap, 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 you actually have to like tap, tap, wait, tap, 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 wait. Like it's got these really weird timing things that, like I said, easy to start with, but like difficult to master and do on purpose. And I'm probably 10 hours, 8 hours in the game. I'm really close to the end. I was trying to, I had a music gig last night, if you can't tell in my voice, but I was trying to finish the game yesterday before this review because I wanted to beat the last boss, but I'm probably an hour or two away from it. I'm going to finish it today. But I felt good enough about my experience so far to be able to come in here and talk about it because I absolutely love it. We said earlier, it runs on the RE2 engine, and this is the first game I can think of that other than Resident Evil 2, that's a modern 2019 game that is as smooth and as fun as like a PS2 era game. Back before everything went HD, and they really started focusing in on like smooth gameplay, and there weren't huge long load times. There weren't like flickering screens. There were what do they call it? Vertical sync. Before vertical sync was mandatory, and where they let the game run in 30 frames because that's good enough. With like a variable frame rate. I've been playing this one on PC. The load times are so fast that I can't even read the tutorial stuff that's there.
No,
like
really?
Literally, I'm like, early on, like, I need all the tips I can, so I'm trying to read, and it's like, nope, sorry, you get 2 seconds, and that's it. But yeah, it's beautiful, it's fun, it's engaging. I'm a fan of Bayonetta. It's probably the only other big character action game like this that I've played, and I realized that some of the people involved in this made Bayonetta.
Thank you for saying that, because I was watching the gameplay this morning and I was like, this reminds me of something, and I can't put my finger on what it is. But yeah, you're entirely right. The almost the look about it and the feel from the combat that I've seen, at least, is very reminiscent of the Bayonetta style as well.
Absolutely. If you've never played Bayonetta, I highly recommend it. It is, it's like this. I mean, I think if I wouldn't have played Bayonetta, I would never have been able to get into Devil May Cry 5. So like, if you're on the fence, if you never played any of these games, I would say Bayonetta is a bit easier to get into, or at least it feels that way for me. Devil May Cry 5 is like, hey, this is number 5. If you don't know what you're in for by now, it's your fault, right? So it's kind of got a difficulty curve to it that, I think it was a viewer of mine, and he's also a streamer named Pumpkin Drublick, 087. He was in my stream yesterday, really helping me out with, like, he's been playing it a lot, and he's a huge Devil May Cry fan of the entire series. And he was saying, okay, now try this combo and try this combo. I'm playing as Dante later in the game, and literally one of his weapons is a motorcycle that splits into 2 weapons. And so he like pulls it apart. It's a demon. It's a motorcycle made out of a demon that he rides, and he pulls it apart and wields 2 of it like he's dual wielding clubs, right? Beating the shit out of people.
Oh, God.
And then he puts the bike together and like rides it around in a circle and like spins the wheels in their face to do damage. All this is a long way of saying the game's a little over the top.
Slightly.
There's a scene where he gets a cowboy, or he gets like a Michael Jackson white fedora hat.
Doesn't he dance?
He does Michael Jackson's dance, which my stream was talking yesterday with all that Michael Jackson documentary that came out. There's a lot of people, like a lot of big media companies are like pulling his media away to like stay away from the controversy. Yeah. I don't know if you saw, but Fox, I think it was Fox, whoever's syndicating The Simpsons now is no longer going to show the Michael Jackson episode because of it.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
Yeah, and so we were wondering, are they going to pull this from Devil May Cry 5? Because he literally like puts it on, grabs his crotch like Michael Jackson, turns around, does a moonwalk and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like really over the top. That's one thing I will say about Devil May Cry 5 and Bayonetta is like, they're like cartoonishly over the top, but it's awesome, so you don't care. It's like, it's just fun, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't take themselves too seriously.
Exactly.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about is the characters in this one, because they've introduced a new character called V. Mm-hmm. Have you had a chance to play? Has him yet?
Yes, I have. I do know some story spoilers about V and why he's there, but I'm not going to say anything yet because I don't want to ruin it for people. But I'll tell you about playing him. He's actually a lot of like Devil May Cry 5 fans I've seen and heard don't care for those sections as much because it's not the Devil May Cry 5 they're looking for, or the Devil May Cry they're looking for. But I've never played these games, so I thought it was refreshing and different. It really mixes things up. All three characters play quite a bit different.
Yeah.
Nero and Dante are the main characters. You start playing as Nero. He's got this like robotic hand that has different attachments that he can do stuff with. He's got a sword. He's got some guns, and that's kind of his shtick.
Yeah.
Dante he can set like, he plays almost exactly like Devil May Cry 4 is what I've heard, from friends that are watching. He has like different stances he can go into.
Yeah.
He's got a bunch of different melee weapons, a bunch of different guns. Plus he has like, different, all of them have different combos. So they're melee fighting. He can turn into like a demon toward the end. Spoiler alert. And when he's in demon mode, they all have this really deep mechanic called the devil trigger mechanic, where they build up this purple meter and it allows them to like charge their attacks. Nero can go into ignite mode, where he catches on fire, and he can switch between his super strong melee punches to melee kicks. So it's 10 attacks in a row with Nero turns into ignite, and that will once you go ignite, if you switch to your boots, you do more damage with the ignite in your boots. It's like all this stuff you got to juggle in your head while you're playing this game. So those two are very similar. This V guy, he is more like, he's very weak. He walks around with a cane, and he summons these demonic familiars, he calls them. Yeah. There's two regular ones and one you can call in with your devil trigger that's like a hulking mass. There's a puma or a tiger. It looks like a puma to me. And then he's got a
panther.
bird.
It's a panther.
It's a panther. I'm sorry.
So I just remember that from this morning.
That's all right. So you can attack. Basically, his gun is the bird, and his sword is melee. A big melee attack is the panther. But you don't melee. You stay way back behind. However, because his familiars are demons and you're fighting demons, they can't actually kill the other demons. He has to like go in there and poke them with his cane to kill them. So you use the familiars to get everybody low health. And they've got this circle that shows up on them when you've got them targeted. Yeah. And it has like a little like clock that winds down as you melee them. It's a meter that dissipates. And then it turns orange when they're like on death's door. They're like stunned and they're sitting there. Oh, I'm about to die. Yeah. And you can push B. And if you hold RB while you push B, he'll like teleport to them, stab them with his cane, and they'll die.
And can you train that then?
Yeah, you can. There's a bunch of different level up abilities there. You can level up all your familiars. There, you can level up his abilities, his cane abilities. The one thing this game will do when you first start playing is it will just kill you with tutorials and new stuff. Like there's not one mission where you end and you're not like, here's a brand new character, here's a brand new weapon, here's a brand new ability. Oh, here's 50,000 orbs you got to go spend on upgrades and every character, every weapon, every ability, every mode, all can be upgraded. And there's like 10 or 12 things to upgrade. So, it's ridiculous. That hat I was talking about. Yeah. The mechanic on it is you can throw it onto enemies. Not only does it put a white Michael Jackson fedora on other enemies the whole time you're fighting them, but while you're killing them, it costs you your red orbs, which is like the currency to upgrade. You're collecting it as you play, right? There's little caches of it everywhere. Yeah. But you throw that hat on the enemy, and every time you hit him while he's wearing that hat, he like just bleeds these red orbs. So you can like farm him like crazy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so that's introduced pretty late in the game. I want to say 60-75% into the game, they hand you that. So like they're like, okay, you know what's going on now. And it was actually Punkin that made me realize that the default difficulty mode is basically the tutorial. Oh. Because I'm almost to the end of the game, and I'm still like getting tutorial screens that are like, okay, this is how this works. Yeah. Here's a new ability. Here's new stuff. And like, he goes, the real game, like the real challenge is the modes that come after you beat the game once. You get the story out of the way, and like, you really start to master the combat system, and then the challenge kicks up. And I'm looking forward to playing that. You know me, I like to play a game that's deep and rewarding and engaging like that. Yeah. And I think this is going to be one of them.
Yeah, now that you mentioned the tutorials and things, with the videos I was watching this morning, they did mention that even late stage in the game itself, you still get these new things that are introduced. So you're having tutorials thrown at you, but like really late on, which I find is a bit odd, but if you say that is like, the normal gameplay is almost the tutorial level, I guess, then it kind of makes sense. But replayability sounds like it has some benefits then.
Definitely. I mean, it's funny because like it wasn't until Pumpkin came in that I was like, I kind of fell into a couple of combos that I thought worked really well together, and I wasn't really branching out. And he was really nice and was like, hey, I don't want to backseat you, but if you want any tips, let me know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't care. Tell me everything about it.
Yeah.
Don't spoil the ending for me, but just tell me anything you want. And so he started peppering in some advice and some tips to try. And, and then there's every now and again, there are these, you can find these spaces, these special places that if you hold the camera just right, you can line up like a rune on a wall through a door with some artwork on the other side and go to a bonus level. And it's these challenge modes. And these challenge modes can give you like unusual, usually over the top things. Like one of those special secrets you can find early on is a rocket launcher for Dante. Because he was like, let me show you a trick with the rocket launcher. I was like, dude, I don't have a rocket launcher. He's like, oh, you missed the secret area before. I go, yeah, I must have because I don't have it. One thing that I'll say about the story in this game, as crazy as it is, it's a continuation of things that have been going on before. So, like, if you're a newcomer to the series like me, you could tell by the way that they represent and show them that you're supposed to have this, like, reverence for this character. You're supposed to know who that is and, like, love that character. And they present them and, like, oh, guess who's back, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know who this lady is. I don't know what's going on here. But the movie or the story is, like, laid out in this random, like, it jumps around in time all the time, more than a Quentin Tarantino movie. But it hasn't like been distracting. It'll show, like, it starts out with like the final boss fight. They show Dante and the final boss very early on, and the final boss just like kills everybody, and then it goes 2 months ago, and then you play from there.
Oh, cool. So is this like a recollection, I guess, a retelling of what's you're leading up to that point? Yeah,
I think when I say it jumps around like a Tarantino movie, like it starts out like June 15th, and then it'll jump to May, and then it'll jump to like back to like the next day in June, and then it'll go like 2 months back, and then it'll go to like further ahead from where you started. It's really good, kind of convoluted, which I think the Soul series does this really well. A game that you're meant to replay quite a bit. If they like obscure the story a little bit and like make you piece it together, replaying it doesn't get as repetitive because you're still like trying to puzzle it out. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's something to be said for that storytelling mechanic that, I mean, you've seen the movie Pulp Fiction, right?
Yes.
So the part of the fun when that movie was new, and still to this day, I think for people just to like in their mind after they leave the theater, piece together, okay, so that happened before this happened, because it's all shot out of order. It's all presented out of order. And I think that's kind of it lends to replayability for them to jump around. And that might be making excuses for bad storytelling to people who don't like it, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Well, like you say, it lends itself to being able to replay it, because no way are you going to go through it the first time with all the jumps about the timeline and notice everything. So going back to play it again, there'll be other parts that like you pick up on and click and think, oh, that happened there. Then, oh yeah, now this was like, etc. and stuff like that.
Absolutely. That's really interesting and neat if you're going to play through it multiple times. However, if somebody's, I just want to see the story and be done with it, yeah, they're going to miss out a lot.
Or I have heard that the story is quite, it's a little bit light.
Oh, yeah.
But I haven't played this. This is just purely from some reviews that I've watched. So I can't really pass comment on that, but yeah.
Yeah, the comment that I've seen overall, like people in my stream the other day were saying that it doesn't answer some questions that they thought they were going to get after playing Devil May Cry 4. But, there is planned DLC, free DLC for this coming out in about a month. I want to talk about that. We were talking about earlier about Nintendo and like a couple of weeks ago talking about how AAA game companies are getting real greedy and microtransaction-y and like chock and full everything in the loot boxes. Resident Evil 2 and Devil May Cry 5 both came out from Capcom this year. They have deals. They have like microtransactions, but it's all cosmetic stuff. Like in Devil May Cry 5, for a couple bucks, you can buy a different voiceover for there's a guy who like calls out your grade. That one thing I have not mentioned is the whole time you're playing this game, you get a style grade for how your combat is. Like if you're just spamming one button the whole time and killing things, you get like a D. You're boring, right? Or dismal. Yeah. If you mix it up and switch weapons and do taunts in the middle of it, and air juggle all the characters, you can get an S, SS, or triple S rank, which is super. What is it called? Super sexy special or something? Super special sexy.
Don't know.
It's something ridiculous, but so there's a voiceover that announces those, and you can get different costumes. You can get some they actually do sell the currency that you can use to unlock everything in the game. But I was talking to Chitchin on his stream and said the developers come out and said, look, the only reason we're doing this is because our publisher our publisher really wants us to add microtransactions. We don't really want to, but if you buy the game and you don't want to you want to learn everything without swinging a button, pushing one button, you can do that. We gave you an option to do it. He goes, but literally you can get everything in the game in one playthrough casually without spending any real world money.
Oh. Wow.
Like I've played through, like I said, almost the whole game, and I have more red stones and gold stones than I know what to do with. So I don't know who's buying those, but it's somebody with more money than sense.
But it is nice that nice in a sense, I suppose, but they've come out and said, look, like we don't want to do this, but we've been pretty much forced our hand to do this. Right. So
that's what all exactly that board of investors, man. And this is a Japanese company like Nintendo, Capcom. They're pushing this information out here. They've Resident Evil 2 remake and Devil May Cry 5 both have first month free DLC too. So I mean, when's the last time you heard, hey, we're going to put out free DLC, free game modes? They're putting out when's the last time you heard about free DLC from any of these big companies?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. I think even Nintendo didn't do that with Zelda.
No, Zelda immediately came to mind as well.
Yeah, it had a day one DLC pack. They sold one DLC pack to that, right?
Two.
Two? The Champions thing? What was the other one? The Hero mode or whatever?
I think so, yeah. I know there's two expansions on there, though.
Yeah, it had a couple other things. Yeah, I bought the expansion pass. I never played either one of them.
No. Oh, no.
I'm part of the problem.
You're perpetuating it, yeah.
Yeah. I that was the first DLC I pre-purchased, the expansion pass on Zelda, because I was so stupid and overhyped about it.
And you never played it?
I never finished it, yeah.
No.
I've been getting the urge to play it lately. Like, it's 2-year anniversary of Breath of the Wild. I've been wanting to try it again, but
nice.
That's a game that's like, who's got the time? I was talking about this on stream that people are like, well, I was going to get Devil May Cry 5, but it looked like it wasn't enough game for $60. And I'm like, yeah, if you look at just the casual story mode and it's 10, 12 hours and you're done with it and that's all you're going to do, I could see that argument. But for me, having a brand new fun game that I enjoy for 12 hours is better than having Breath of the Wild that I enjoy for 12 hours, but I play for 112.
Yeah.
Like, Breath of the Wild is a great game, but there's a lot of time you're just fucking going, okay, am I there yet?
No, I completely agree with that, because there's been numerous games that I've gone to look at and just being put off by the amount of time that I'd have to invest into playing it.
Yep.
So maybe I don't know if $60 would justify like 10 or 12 hour play, but 10 to 12 hours I would be more than happy to play.
Exactly. And the thing with Devil May Cry 5 is I may play 10, 12 hours and then, this combat system's really starting to click. I'm starting to get it. I'm going to replay it now. And that 10, 12 hours turns into 20, into 25. Yeah. I've been known to play a video game because I like its combat system for hundreds of hours. And I've got plenty of different games other than just Dark Souls to prove that.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm going to give Devil May Cry 5 an absolute recommendation. The only people I would say Devil May Cry 5 is not for is if you've played these types of games before and I don't like third person action, shoot 'em up, beat 'em ups. because, that's just not my thing. It's too much going on the screen. No, don't get it if you already know you don't like Bayonetta, you don't like the old God of War games, because it's just too much to manage and button mashing.
Yeah.
I use button mashing in a joking sense. It's not a button masher game, but anybody else, if you're on the fence, if you look at Devil May Cry 5 and go, man, that looks like a lot of fun, but I don't know, it's only 12 hours. There's way more than 12 hours of content in it. You got the free DLC coming out, which is going to add like some like arena and like not boss rush, but like a survival mode where they just throw wave after wave after wave, and you got to see how far you can get using that combat system. It's definitely that kind of game.
Nice.
But anyway, that's it for this week, guys. Cherry, why don't you give out your socials?
Oh wow, you sound so cool right now.
Hey guys, I'm a hip YouTuber.
No, got it. Yeah, if you guys want to get a hold of me for any reason in particular, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at cherrycake518, and I'm also on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/cherrycaketv. What about you, Crunk?
I'm at Crunky_Twitch on Twitter, and I'm on the Twitch TV/Crunky with 2 N's. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.